Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Ruach Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage were known as and still are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the death of this devil right here, the king of Edom, Jacob Rothschild. Now, when I say king of Edom, I mean that he is one of the kings. You see, there are many kings within the nation of Edom, but this devil here is one of the more prominent ones that have passed away in these last couple of years. And that's because the Lord is doing mighty things and making a lot of changes in the world. I guess you could say he's rearranging the chessboard for the final play. And that final play doesn't have this devil on the playing field. Now, let's read this. This is Daniel's 2:21. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. So you see, this man here was set up in his position, him and his family, by the Most High. This is why they've been permitted to gain control of the world and rule it in the manner that they've seen fit, which is in the way of wickedness. Right? There's been many rumors about the Rothschilds, as far as who they worship and how there's a 13th seat at their table, and all these rumors, because there isn't anybody really who's filmed it, but we've heard a lot of testimonies from people. That being said, not all these people can be lying, and the Bible makes it very clear that these Edomites are the wicked. Now, that being said, I wouldn't put anything past these devils when it comes to wickedness and them hiding things. But regardless of that, today is a big day, because today is a big blow to the nation of Edom. Because though Jacob Rothschild was supposedly retired and he's, for the most part, handed over the reins of his corporations and the family interest to his son Nathaniel Rothschild, or Nathan Rothschild, this devil still had a prominent role on the world. Okay, and what was that role? Well, it was to lead his people. When I say his people, I'm not just talking about the so-called Jews, but the Edomites, right? The nation of Edom, which include the Israelis along with all the Caucasians in the world. Okay, you're looking at your king. This is the true king of these Edomites, okay? One of them, right? Charles would be another king of Edom, along with the people that you see on this sign, right? These are the top elites of the Edomite nations. And as the scripture at the top says, right, this is Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, who and where is he? And that's these devils. See, these are the Edomites that came out of the Caucasus Mountains, right? They went into the Caucasus Mountains around, really it started, as Apostle Tahar said, around I think 94, 97 AD to about 400 AD is where you had the migration of the pagan Edomite Romans that started to flee up to the Caucasus Mountains, because Rome eventually started to become taken over by the influx of, I guess you would call them immigrants at the time, right? But they basically were the slaves. You had a bunch of so-called Negroes that filled the slave markets that came from Israel as slaves after Titus and Vespasian took down Israel. Now, those slaves eventually got up into the higher echelon of Rome and took it over. And this caused these devils here, these Edomites, to flee into the Caucasus Mountains, where they stayed for 1,000 years, fulfilling the prophecy of Satan being chained up for 1,000 years, or the devil being chained up for 1,000 years, and then released for a little while. Well, we're currently living in that little while, because you see, since the 12 to 1400s, the time of the Renaissance, these devils came out of the mountains, the Caucasus Mountains, known as the Khazarians and the Caucasians. And they eventually did the same thing that the Southern Kingdom did, and they worked their way up through the societal systems, and they eventually took over around like the 1400s. Okay, and what did they do when they took over? Well, they did a bunch of iconoclasm, and they destroyed all the images, all the history records, or they tried to at least, of all the so-called black nobility and rulers of Europe. Okay, and this is why there was such a huge recognition of artists during that time. Well, that power has come all the way down to modern times till today, and the people that have managed to gain control of this are the Rothschilds. Okay, let's go ahead and watch this.
Rise of the Rothschilds. You see, from their very beginnings to the modern era, the Rothschild family has always claimed a Jewish heritage. This claim has been a key factor in their journey to becoming one of the most influential families in the world. However, sometimes appearances can be misleading. Long before they proudly embraced their Jewish roots, the ancestors of the Rothschilds weren't Jewish at all. They were Khazars, hailing from the mighty kingdom of Khazaria during the 7th century. In those times, religious affiliations held tremendous importance in the realm of politics and international relations. The Khazars, who practiced a form of Turkic religion called Tengrism, decided to convert to Judaism, leading to a mass religious transformation among the Khazarian elite and nobility. Fast forward to the 10th century, and their powerful alliances began to crumble. Without support and plagued by ongoing conflicts, the once mighty Khazar kingdom saw its power gradually wane. Sensing the impending downfall, the ruling elite craftily migrated to Europe, using Judaism as a clever disguise. As a result, many of the people who identify as Jewish today actually have their roots in Khazaria or are Ashkenazi Jews. Despite having Asiatic Mongolian genes, they managed to stake their claim to the land of Israel, even though their original homeland was what we now know as Georgia. This clever transformation allowed them to integrate into the Jewish community and enjoy the advantages associated with being part of this unique ethnic, religious and cultural group. With their newfound influence, they began their ascent on the social ladder in monarchical Europe. Some even achieved nobility and founded their own dynasties, ultimately gaining political power in more than one kingdom. So they took on new names and acted like they were part of the majority to rise in the ranks. The idea was to get into powerful positions in their adopted homelands and work on their secret plans without anyone catching on. The Rothschild family, well, they're a prime example of this strategy taken to the extreme. It all started when Meyer returned to Frankfurt to take the reins of his family's business. It was at this moment that he made a significant change. He transformed his last name from Bauer to Rothschild when he grasped the significance of that red hexagram. In the German language, red is Rot, and Schild means sign. Meyer soon learned that his friend General von Estorff had close ties to one of Europe's wealthiest royal houses, Hesse-Hanau. Prince William II had built his fortune and elevated his house by offering his army as mercenaries to foreign countries in exchange for substantial sums of money, a practice that continues today in the form of peacekeeping missions. Meyer's shrewd mind concocted a plan. He reconnected with the general under the guise of selling valuable trinkets and coins at an irresistible discount. As he had hoped, this brought him into the prince's presence. The prince was pleased with their dealings and welcomed him into his inner circle. The initial investment bore fruit, as Meyer found himself not only doing business with the prince, but also with the members of the royal court. Meyer quickly grasped the advantages of engaging with governments rather than individuals, and soon he became a court Jew, a person providing loans to the nobility and members of the court. This marked the beginning of the Rothschild family's journey in the world of finance, which was far from straightforward. In the year 1812, Mayer Rothschild passed away, and the weight of his legacy fell upon his son, Nathan Mayer Rothschild. Nathan took on the task of managing Wilhelm's wealth and upholding the Rothschild name. He chose to stay in London, while his eldest brother assumed control of the original Frankfurt business. The other three brothers set out to establish branches in vital European capitals. Despite the geographical distances that separated them, the Rothschild brothers stuck to a unified strategy. They concentrated on extending loans to the aristocracy and local local governments. For example, the brother in France became the trusted banker of Leopold I of Belgium, and the one in Vienna offered financial support to the last Holy Roman Emperor, Francis II. In the year 1815, all 5 of the Rothschild brothers came up with a cunning plan to make money during the ongoing war in Europe. They supplied gold to both of the main parties in the conflict, the Duke of Wellington and Napoleon. Nathan, who was working in England, financed Wellington's army, while James, who was in France, supported Napoleon's army. This is when they began their strategy of financing both sides in any war. Wars gave them a chance to make money without taking risks. The family used their powerful banking system that stretched across all of Europe and set up a secret postal service network of hidden routes. This helped them get important information before it became public, giving them an advantage in current events. Plus, because of their influence, their messengers were the only ones allowed to get through the English and French blockades easily. This allowed Nathan Mayer to know about the war's status before anyone else and use that information to make a ton of money on the stock exchange.
And so there you go. That's pretty much the breakdown of how the Rothschilds came to be. Now I just want to make one small correction in that video, though it did highlight how the Rothschilds lineage doesn't go back to the biblical Hebrews, but to the Khazarians, whose homeland is in modern day Georgia, right? That's Eastern Europe, Georgia, But I just want to correct that by saying that's only where they emerged. You see, these Edomites, or should I say the Ashkenazis, before they dwelt in the Caucasus Mountains or in the land of Georgia, they were the Romans before then, and then before that they were the Macedonians, before that they were the Edomites, okay? Now, all these things that took place from the Rothschilds gaining this elaborate banking system that gave them all these benefits and advantages over all these other people, it wasn't just happenstance, right? This is a blessing that was given onto them, that they would live off the fatness of the world and that they would ultimately gain rulership over the world and that they would rule it by their weaponry. Let's go and read that. This is Genesis 27:38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So this right here is the prophecy, the blessing that was given to Esau that would eventually come upon all of his descendants. And namely, those that we see today that we refer to as the one percenters, the upper echelon, right? Or as I said, the kings of Edom, right? And they are living off the fatness of the earth, and they're living by their sword, right? And that right there is these Edomite traits. This is Luke 12:15. And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And I just wanted to bring this scripture out because we all know that this man, Jacob Rothschild, was incredibly wealthy. And he owned many properties and items, right? He literally was living in his heaven. And now that he's passed on, he's going to wake up 3 to 4 generations, but by the time he comes back onto the earth, he is going to be in captivity. He's going to be a slave under the Israelites and the Messiah. Okay? The world that he is going to be born into is going to be very different than the world that he left. Okay? He was riding high now, but he's going to be riding low when he comes back. So it doesn't matter all the possessions that he had and all the philanthropy that he tried to do at the end of his life. The deeds of him and his people and what they've done throughout history is a stain on their reputation, and ultimately is going to be the reason why they're going to be judged so harshly. Remember, in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, it says that Edom is the place of prominent, or it's a prominent place of future judgment, and is the only nation not given any promise of mercy from the Lord. And why is that? Why does it say this? Well, that's because Edom, when you follow their lineage back, they're ultimately the descendants of Cain. And I was trying to find the video, but I couldn't find it. It's more than likely within my all my files that I have mixed together. But there was ultimately it's an insider who came out and spilled the beans, saying that these elites, the Rothschilds especially, they know that they descend from Cain. Now, they don't necessarily say Esau, but they will mention Cain. And why is that? Well, because they also understand that Cain came back in the reincarnation as Esau. Okay? And this is why they're blatant Satanists, and they do everything that they're doing because they understand that God is not for them. They understand that this is their heaven and this is their time to rule. And that's what I was basically saying, right? When the time that Jacob comes back, he's going to come back as a slave, working for the Israelites and also the Messiah. So again, it doesn't matter what you get in this world, right? Like one of the brothers said, trying to build something up in this world is like you trying to install tile in an Airbnb. It just doesn't make sense. But again, this is all the heaven that these other heathen nations are going to have, especially Esau. So, more power to him, right? Let them enjoy their heaven while they got it, because again, it's fastly coming to an end. This is Isaiah 29:15. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, and the works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? And this devil, Jacob Rothschild, was a known acquaintance of this witch, Marina Abramovic, right? She's one of the top witches in the world today. And it's not a coincidence that these two devils here, or should I say these two Edomites, because that's what they are, right? Though he may be from the tribe of Amalek, the top tribe of Edom, and she may be from another Edomite nation, they're both Edomites, okay? And the photo that they're standing in front of is called Lucifer summoning his armies, right? So again, this is no coincidence that they took this photo. Now, these are the people that are behind those secret councils, right? Those, as it said in the scripture right now, that seek deep to hide their counsel. And now that this devil is gone, you could bet that all these other occultists and Edomites are scrambling and trying to figure out what to do next, because they held this man in high esteem. And one way you could tell this is because a couple of days ago, this was seen, right? Nobody understood what this was. This was on 2 days ago, and this is a rare event. Let's go and watch and listen to what the man has to say.
I've just seen something super rare in the middle of the Mall, central London. This is incredible. Now, from what I can see, this is the Blues and Royals regiment carrying the colour. Now, this is super rare. You don't often see this at all. Just popped out of nowhere. So I wonder what's going on. This is incredible. So we're in the middle of central London, just off St James's Park on the Mall. Now, often the White Horse comes out when the King is present, but for what I can see, the King isn't around at the moment. And how I know that is the royal standards should be flying but it's not flying right now. It's a Union flag that's flying, so I don't know why we're seeing what we're seeing right now.
Now, eventually, it goes on for about 2 more minutes of this man just being astonished about what he's looking at. But, you know, I didn't even know what this was, but I do know, you know, what this signifies, right? Because when you look at it, this man here, he isn't actually riding this horse in the traditional way. That's not his leg, right? This is an empty boot that is put in the stirrup, and it's supposed to be a riderless horse with boots in the stirrups. Now the boots can be, you know, forward facing. Usually they're backwards facing. I'm guessing they're forward facing because this here is to show homage to Jacob Rothschild. Because more than likely, what happened on this day, that man more likely was told that he was gonna die. Like he was probably on his deathbed. The doctors, you know, for the most part said they couldn't, you know, cut up any more baby hearts, or you know, no amount of adrenochrome would help him. So more than likely, they put this show on to show that a fellow, you know, countryman or, you know, knight or king had passed away. Now, another thing about this that's going on, the only reason why this man, by the way, is riding is because that's how they're basically steering this horse. But again, because how he's not riding him normally, he's not supposed to be here, okay? Also, notice he's wearing red, and which is like for the royal, all right? And these 2 other people here, they're wearing black, and they're on black horses. Now, when I seen this a couple days ago, I thought this was some sort of spiritual significance, right? Because remember, it was the black horse in Revelations, which signifies balance, and ultimately now Esau getting his portion of the curses, right? And also the opposite of slavery for the Israelites, right? The downfall for Edom, and how this white horse was trailing behind these black horses. I thought this was a signaling of the next horse. Behold, the pale horse that signifies death to come. Now, who knows? This may actually signify that, but for the most part, this, I'm guessing, is signifying the death of Jacob Rothschild back when they understood February 24th that his death was imminent, okay? And again, this is the king's horse. They've confirmed it, right? That white horse that belongs to the king, this is his horse, right? So this right here shows you how much they depend on Jacob Rothschild. So his death was a big blow to these Edomite nations, right, and their plans. And again, that shows you, man, that, you know, the Lord is throwing a monkey wrench into these devils' plans, right? Now we gotta wait to see who's gonna, you know, come up and fill Jacob's Rothschild's, you know, shoes, and I'm guessing it's gonna be his son Nathan Rothschild. But we'll see what ends up happening. And this right here is just a goodie but oldie. Let's go and give it a watch.
Right.
You said you weren't on there last year?
No, I wasn't there last year. I think that was my cousin.
Your cousin was there?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Do you have a couple minutes for us, Mr. Rothschild? We have a few additional questions.
I was asking a question inside of when I was saying that the Federal Reserve is one of these organizations. These organizations that a lot of people say is the source of inhumane thoughts all across the world because it's a private bank that was started by your family.
No, it's completely not true. I was off that earlier. It really isn't true. No.
Just one thing, we could go on about how, you know, your family committed all these acts against society, but we just want to let you know the New World Order has no legitimacy. And that we as a people are not afraid, and we are waking up to the robber barons and the big banksters who are looting the economy with the Federal Reserve.
Well,